Fight! Good evening, Titan Nation. Welcome to another edition of Titans in Truth. I am your host, Chris, and I am glad to be joining you again on this beautiful Wednesday evening. And we're going to be talking training camp. As you can see, I got my gear on ready to go. We got training camp coming in a few days. And last week we talked about the offensive side of the ball. We're going to get on right in on the defensive side of the ball. Now, we went uncensored before last week, and it felt so good, I just thought we needed to go uncensored part 2. So, joining me now to help me with that is the second part of the 3-man team known as Two Tone Uncensored. I had Matt on last week. This week, I got the leader, my man Ryan. Ryan, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Excited to be on the show with you. Love to talk Titans football, and I'm excited anytime I get the chance to, so I'm glad you had me on.
Hey, Titans football is the best kind of football there is, so believe me, it is an exciting time, it is. So
that's a fact.
Yes, I am definitely looking forward to that, and we're going to get right on in because for some of y'all that don't know, been joining the Two Tone Uncensored podcast a couple of times. We had a really good time with it. So Ryan and Matt and Glenn had me come on a second time, which I was honored to do that. Had fun. I just felt it's only fitting that I have some of them on the show as well. So Matt was on last week. I got Ryan this week. So I'm just glad to have him on. And Ryan, you ready to get into this defense?
Dude, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, well, let's get started. We're going to start on the defense side of the ball, and one of the strongest positions I think there is on this entire team, the defensive line. And we already can start with our main man, Mr. 99 Problems, Jurrell Casey, a guy that was in our top 100 list. You also got a newcomer, Sylvester Williams. And you got Daquan Jones, Austin Johnson. You got the backups in Klug and Angelo Blackston. You got maybe a dark horse in my mind with Antoine Woods making the team. And maybe even seeing something with a couple of guys that I think are some dark horses. But my question is to you, Ryan, on the defensive line, what I'm really looking at and what I'm looking forward to finding out, who do you think could start opposite Jurrell Casey? Because we need that other defensive end, and I just don't know if Daquan Jones is up for the task.
Right now, man, it's hard to see anybody but Daquan Jones being the de facto starter. I think you're going to see heavy rotation again this year, though. I mean, I don't think Blackston's going to be there this year to be able to step up. Coral Klug, you can pretty much plug and play anywhere and get pretty solid output. You know, he's one of the favorites of the Two Tone Uncensored. We love that guy. He's all heart.
Yes, love him.
There's some other guys. You brought up Antoine Woods. He's a guy that's going to put pressure on the top end of the defensive line. But starting opposite, I have to say it's going to be Daquan Jones. You know, I really wish that we had someone, and I think we will address it next year in the draft, to bring in someone to start on the other side and just, man, would be good.
I agree with you on that one. And really, the one guy that I think has a great chance of unseating Daquan Jones, in my honest opinion, could be Austin Johnson. And Austin Johnson, you know, he showed a little bit toward the end of the season in the games against Denver and in the last game against Houston, but he's got to step up and show a little bit more if he really wants that spot. But right now, I mean, it does look like it's Daquan Jones' spot to lose, which that's why I was kind of mad with Washington the night of the draft when I was up there in Philly. I was thinking, okay, Jonathan Allen's on the board. Maybe we could get him. And they took him right before us. And I was so visibly upset over that. And I was really hoping to see Jonathan Allen in two-tone blue, because him and Casey on the line together with Williams and our pass rushers would have been a devastating line to go against.
I felt the same way, you're talking about Jonathan Allen, but as for Austin Johnson, I think he's going to stay. He's built to play nose tackle, so I don't see him pushing outside. But I do think that you're going to see a lot of Austin Johnson this year. I'm not really sold on Sylvester Williams at nose tackle. So I think you're going to see Austin Johnson jump up probably pretty early, maybe even in training camp. We'll see what happens, but I think it's definitely a battle to watch out for in training camp because I think Austin Johnson has a lot more promise than Sylvester Williams does. He just has to live up to that potential, something that Williams never did.
Absolutely, and I definitely agree on that Austin Johnson's got to show it. And, we got it interesting to see what Carl Klug does coming back from that injury, but we know he's got a motor on him, and he's going to be a guy that definitely is going to bring the energy. But one other quick thing I wanted to mention, I have a couple of dark horses, guys we may not be talking much about, but who could slide into this team. And I'm thinking it could be Jimmy Staten from MTSU and also defensive end outside linebacker Courtney Brown. Could be a couple of guys that might sneak on this team. And I'm thinking about Courtney Brown because he could be versatile as a defensive end and also add some pass rush behind Arakpo and Morgan.
No, absolutely. Courtney Brown's someone that, you watch some of his tape and it blows you away. He's a smart kid, and he's a guy that definitely is going to put pressure. He's a guy that I've been watching. It's still going to be interesting though, because there is some guys ahead of him with a lot more experience, but there's really, outside of Morgan and obviously Arakpo, we don't have a lot of talent at outside linebacker. Our starters are great. Our depth is, lacking.
Definitely.
If Kevin Dodd steps up, that'll obviously change. We got Josh Caraway, who I think, has some promise to be pretty good. But Courtney Brown's definitely a guy that can be disruptive. I think he's just a little raw. It's definitely something you're going to still have to work on him with, but definitely a guy you can bring in here, and it's going to put pressure. I mean, if you look, Kevin Dodd's going to be the backup for one of the guys, probably on Arakpo's side. So on the other side, you have guys like Aaron Wallace, Staples is another guy on that side, and then Caraway. So Courtney Brown could easily put a lot of pressure on those guys. If he really comes out and plays well in training camp, there's no question that he could end up being a very key contributor.
Yeah, and I definitely can agree with you on that and attest to that. And that's actually where we're going to be heading to next, would be the linebacking core as well. So, speaking with the linebacking core, that was definitely something I wanted to go into. You got Arakpo and Morgan, obviously. Kevin Dodd's got to show that he's healthy and that he can at least bring us something, because we don't want that to be the bad look on John Robinson, as in this is the pick that failed. You took him high in the second round, right at the top end of the second round. So, John Robinson wants this pick to work. So, Dodd's got to really show something. But as far as linebackers, again, Courtney Brown could definitely do something. Aaron Wallace, Josh Caraway, again, we were talking about that. I think Caraway might be a year away, possibly, from doing something. I think he may end up on the practice squad. But we've talked a little bit about outside linebacker on that. I want to turn my attention to inside linebacker next. We got Avery Williamson, Wesley Woodyard. You got guys like Nate Palmer, Darren Bates, who I know will be on special teams. But Jayon Brown is somebody I want to get into, because on Music City Miracles, I went back and looked at a scouting report on him, and I went back and looked at some of his game tape earlier today. I looked at some game against, I want to say it was against USC, and I looked at some other highlights of his. He really has a knack for finding the football, and he is excellent in pass coverage. Could use a little bit of work in the run game, but I really think, and this could be bold, even though I like Wesley, I think Jayon Brown has potential to be a starter next year or by the end of this year, because I really think Jayon Brown and Avery Williamson could end up completing each other. Avery is good in the run game, not so much in the pass game. Jayon Brown good in the pass game, could use some work on the run. But can Jayon Brown be that pass coverage linebacker we've been looking for? And could he eventually upset Wesley Woodyard by the end of the year?
He's definitely going to be the go-to guy. When we go up against teams that have good tight ends, when we play the Colts twice with Doyle really, starting to step up into the spotlight last year. Fedorowicz with the Houston had a good year last year against us especially. We're going to play some teams that have some studs at tight end, and obviously that was a big problem. And Jayon Brown was brought in for that reason. He's going to be a guy that we fairly often, I think. He's going to be in a heavy rotation going up against these guys. He's only 6 foot tall at 231. So he's a little undersized, but he has great instincts. He knows where to be. He's that guy that's in the right place every single time. He's just really high football IQ, great athleticism. If he's that size, that tells you how fast, how quick, and how agile he has to be able to make it to this level. And he is a talented kid. He definitely really fits what we're going to do really well because, you look, Avery Williamson's a run-stopping machine.
Yeah.
And you look at his Pro Football Focus ratings, he is at the top of pretty much every statistic you can look at for run stoppers. Woodyard's kind of the same player, just not as good.
Yeah.
He's better against the pass than the run. Jayon Brown, you're going to bring him in. And I definitely think it's a possibility that you see Brown play more than Wesley Woodyard by the season's end. He's definitely going to be a heavy rotation player, and he is so good in coverage. He's going to take a lot of pressure off of these safeties when it comes to guarding tight ends and the like. He's a guy that's going to be an absolute asset in the middle of the field. And he's going to have to learn quick. Keep in mind this guy was still a 5th-round pick. He's going to have to pick it up fast.
Yes, he does.
But he's a talented kid, and he's obviously going to be a huge part of our rotation.
I agree with that, and that was definitely something I was thinking because Avery Williamson for the last 3 years has led the team in tackles, so we all know he is definitely, like you said, an excellent run stuffer, but he's always had that trouble in coverage. If Jayon Brown can pick up this playbook and really pick up the defense well, yeah, I definitely see that sky's the limit for him because, in my honest opinion, run defense is something that you can really learn. Pass coverage is something you got to know off the bat. So if he does that, he's going to be very beneficial to this team going on. And also I want to just mention a quick nugget. A dark horse, in my opinion, is Nate Palmer. He's been on this team a few years, does help on special teams. I think that's the reason he will stay on is because of special teams to go along with Darren Bates, in my honest opinion. And outside linebacker, again, I think Josh Carraway is about a year away. I think he ends up on the practice squad, in my opinion, with that. But now I want to move on to a spot that was one of our weakest spots last year and probably gave a lot of us nightmares at night, and that is the secondary. And boy, oh boy, did we have some bad times in the secondary. You had the likes of Parrish Cox, Jason McCourty, and Antoine, formerly known as Valentino Blake, whoever that was. I never really liked him. I called him Flaky Blake, basically. He was a fake, if you ask me. I could not stand seeing him on the field. Every time I saw him on the field, I'm like, there's a big play that's going to be given up. I know it. But now we got John Robinson addressed that. He cleaned some of this up, bringing in Logan Ryan with that championship pedigree, drafting Adoree Jackson, who, ladies and gentlemen, he is fast. Fast, I tell you. I'm going to tell you more about that in a second. LaShawn Sims, of course you got in the back end Kevin Byard, Jonathan Cyprian with Denor Searcy. You got possibly Bryce McCain, who could be a pain at times. And also you got Brandon Trawick, who will help mostly on special teams, and DeMontrezl Hurst and Kalen Reed as well. And DeJourn Smith and Ty Smith as well. I forgot to add those guys. But my question is, first off, who's going to start alongside Logan Ryan on the other side? I'm thinking it's going to come down mainly to Adoree Jackson and LaShawn Sims, and the loser of that battle will go into the slot, in my honest opinion. What do you got to say about that, Ryan?
Man, it's going to be an interesting battle. And I think a lot of people are, have really gotten down to Jackson and Sims. And I love LaShawn Sims, but I'm not counting Bryce McCain out just yet. Even in those games where we were really bad in coverage, McCain was normally the best, especially towards the end of the year, the best of what was a bad secondary. He played very well, or at least in the corners, out of the corners. He played pretty well. He sticks to his man. He can make mistakes, but he makes fewer mistakes than anybody else that was with us last year outside of McCourty. Logan Ryan, obviously, you're going to have to start on the outside. So I think it comes down to those three. Dory Jackson has the hardest time out of these three because he has the least amount of time on the field with this team. Yeah. He's really raw. The kid has the talent, has the upside to be extraordinary. I'm talking Deion Sanders, like primetime level extraordinary.
I agree.
Those kind of ball skills, that speed, the returnability, making men miss, coming back. He's exciting, but he's a little raw right now.
Yeah.
If I had to put my money on it, I'm going with LaShawn Sims. He did a great job of mirroring guys last year. He sticks with guys. The one thing with Sims is he needs to be able to get that head around. If he gets his head around, starts making plays on balls, LaShawn Sims can be special. He's going to be a guy that is not going to be, the home run threat that Dory Jackson is, or has the potential to be. But he's going to be the guy that's locked down. It's going to be, you're not going to want to pass that way because it's going to be incompletions constantly. If he gets that head around, look at the plays he gave up. He's right there every time.
Absolutely.
He just doesn't get his head around.
And that's always been a problem with a lot of Titan corners in the past is that...
For sure.
Jason McCourty, I had that problem with him as well. If he just turned his head around a bit, he probably has about 2 or 3 more interceptions. Because a lot of plays, he was right there and just did not turn the head around. You got to quit playing the man and play the ball. And that's what I like about Adoree Jackson. I agree with you with LaShawn Sims. I think Sims is going to be the starter to start off. And I think Adoree Jackson will end up on the outside some of the time. But what I will say with Adoree Jackson is he does have to learn some things. And he's got to learn to tackle better. He's also got to learn to play on the press. Because a lot of the film I watched him in, especially with the game against Washington and also a game against Penn State, he played a lot of off the ball. He was about anywhere between 7 to 10 yards off the ball, which was very eagerly close to what a lot of Titan corners did in the past. But he makes up for it with that closing speed, which is incredible. And there was a game against Alabama where the running back had a breakaway run, and Adoree Jackson, he caught him. It looked like he was going in for a touchdown. This guy looked like he was about 5 to 7 yards ahead. Adoree Jackson ran him down. And he ran like a missile. He did that a couple of times I saw on tape. And I'm just telling you, you're not going to break any long runs, especially because his angle of pursuit is absolutely incredible in my honest opinion. But again, he has a knack for the ball. And he is definitely going to be entertaining, if nothing else. And we'll talk a little bit about him on special teams a bit. But I like your pick on LaShawn Sims. And also on the back end, do you see where Kalen Reed or DeJohn Smith, do you see where one of them, or Demontrez Hurst, do you see where 1 or 2 of them makes the team? Because I think it's going to be 1 or 2 that make it, but 1 could be on the outside.
Yeah, Hurst is a guy that Matt has been big on all off season long. He's a guy that I like. Watched his tape, and he's gotten some playing time, but only a few starts. But he has almost as many interceptions in his career as he does starts. He's a quality backup piece. We brought him in here from the Bears for a reason. I think he's a guy that definitely can make the team. Kalen Reed, there's so much upside with Kalen Reed. And he's so cheap that he's so easy to stick around. Coming off of a 7th round pick last year, he's the cheapest guy that you're going to have on your team for a while. So it's real easy for him to stick around. Smith, I think, has a harder time. I think out of the 3, I'm going to go with Hurst and Reed over them. Hurst is a guy I think could put a lot of pressure on the higher level of this secondary, but I mean, we'll see. And going back to Sims and Jackson, McCain, and all that real quick, I think you're going to see a heavy rotation. No matter who gets the starting spot, you're going to see a heavy rotation until one of those guys starts really shining, and then you're going to see him start. But yeah, I think DeMontre Harris is the guy I've been watching out for. He's one of the guys I'm definitely going to be watching, coming up in training camp.
I agree. And I do like the fact that it looks like how they'll probably set it up is, and what I think would be good for us, Logan Ryan's going to take care of those big physical guys, especially in our division, guys like DeAndre Hopkins or a guy like an Allen Robinson. He'll probably be on them. And then Adoree Jackson or LaShawn Sims will be on the faster guy. Anytime, and I think especially with Indianapolis, wherever T.Y. Hilton goes, I'm making sure Adoree Jackson follows him. Wherever Hilton goes, Jackson better be there too. And on the safety position, right quick before we go to a quick break, I really think Kevin Byard's going to break out. I think I said this on y'all podcast the first time. I think Byard is in for a Pro Bowl season. He is going to have so many chances at interceptions now, and he's going to be the ball hawk he's always wanted to be. I think it's going to be a very big season for Kevin Byard indeed, and I hope there's some depth behind him in the safety position.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about it on the show, and I'm not as high on him, but I do think he's going to have a big year. With Jonathan Cyprien coming in, Cyprien is so good against the run and plays up in the box. That frees Byard to go back and play more of that free safety and that center fielder that he's used to playing. Because last year we took a guy who likes being that ball hawk, that center fielder, and we asked him to stop the run. And he did a great job at it. I mean, Byard had a really good season last year. Doing something that is not his skill set. It's not his main role. So, yeah, I think he's going to have a great year. If you have Cyprien in there that can be able to stop the run and bring pressure up in the box, Kevin Byard can step back a little bit, especially because I think, our corner just got better, which is going to allow him to make plays when he's back there a little more often as well. One guy to watch out for, and you were talking about depth, Curtis Riley is the guy that I've been watching. He hasn't gotten a lot of time on the field, but he looked promising until the injury, and then we haven't really seen much from him since then. I think he's a guy that could definitely provide depth for this unit. And Cersei's still back there, Treywick's, and, this position group, we've talked about how bad the secondary is, but this safety group's actually pretty strong. If you look at it from top to bottom, if Curtis Riley turns out to be even decent, you have Cersei as a backup with Byard and Cyprien starting, which is a solid two starter. Cersei's a great backup. And then you have Treywick and Curtis Riley fighting it out for that fourth spot. And Denzel Johnson, who I don't know a whole lot about. I watched a little bit of his tape today, actually. But, it's going to be a solid group. I still think we only keep 4.
I agree.
So, watch out. Brendan Treywick, Curtis Riley, watch that battle. As it winds down, because it's going to be interesting to see who sticks.
And honestly, I think Treywick is going to stick because, this is the guy that John Robinson brought in right away on the first day of free agency to help with special teams. So I do think Treywick sticks. But Curtis Riley is one that quite a few fans are definitely wanting to know more about. And does he have a really chance to stick? He does have to show something. And if he can help on special teams, hey, the more the merrier. There may be a spot for him. But everybody, we're going to take a quick time out for just a moment, and we're going to come right back in just a second and go into Pick Your Brain, but we're going to have a very quick promo for one of our sponsors of Titans and Truth. Be back in just a moment. Hi guys, this is Chris Newell from Titans and Truth. Ladies, are you looking for that specific jewelry that's unique and helps you stand out? Something you will never find in other jewelry stores? Fellas, you might be looking for that special jewelry for that special lady in your life. Or you might be looking for some bling for yourself. Well, check out Rose Jewel Boutique and my friend Allison Conley. Ladies, she can make jewelry in a way that you want it and to your particular taste. Check this picture out here. Fellas, you want a little bit of bling or something that you can find special too? She does male jewelry as well. Check out these bracelets that she's made. Now look, I don't say this about Rose Jewel Boutique because they are a sponsor of the show or that she is a friend of the show. I say this because I am a valued customer. Take a look at these pictures from our wedding. You really want to find out how to get this special jewelry? Check her out right here. Check her out on Facebook, Instagram, or go to rosejewelboutique.com. She can ship anywhere. And make sure you tell her that Chris from Titans and Truth sent you. All right, and we're back here on Titans and Truth. And I'm here, of course, with Ryan, my guy from Two Tone Uncensored, as we go Uncensored Part 2. We just talked about the defense. And now I wanted to quickly touch on special teams. And as y'all know, John Robinson made this a major emphasis in the offseason because coverage teams were just not very good last year. And in a lot of people's opinion, including my own, probably cost us a couple of games last year. And so they really looked to address this by bringing in guys like Brendan Trawick and also Darren Bates and Eric Weems to help on special teams. And then, of course, with Adoree Jackson definitely has return ability, and Keflani Muhammad. My question on this to you, Ryan, and what I'm thinking on is, what do you think is going to happen with the return duties? I honestly think Adoree Jackson is going to be our punt returner, but I think either Weems or Muhammad will end up doing the kick returning, basically so that Adoree Jackson plays defense mainly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, I've said this since we drafted him. He's going to do kick returning or punt returning, and most likely punt returning because that's where he's going to be the best weapon for us. And then, I think it is going to be between Weems and Keflani Muhammad. And I've said it before, I like Muhammad a lot. I think he's a very talented football player. His size does scare me, though, especially you're talking about the most violent play in football is the kickoff easily. That's where the biggest hits always come from.
That's true.
So he's going to be taking some hard shots. So, I don't expect, unless we see like Sims or McCain, take over like we were talking about earlier, I really don't expect you to see Adoree Jackson doing both punts and kick returns.
I agree.
Another name to throw in there, though, Kevin Byard. He's no slouch at returning kicks either.
That's true. That is true. That is true. And I mean to cut you off there. I'm sorry about that. But, Kevin Byard definitely did get a little bit of look at kickoff return and punt return as well. And I want to say, didn't Tajay Sharp get a look last year? I believe in the open scrimmage at Nissan Stadium last year. I believe Tajay Sharp got a look at kickoff return as well, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right, and I believe he's returned punts before too, and preseason. I'm not sure if he's ever done it in the regular season, but yeah, I mean he's definitely a guy that's going to be thrown into the mix. It's going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting to watch out for because we do have some guys, and Eric Weems has had a solid career as a return man. Adoree Jackson coming in is absolutely electric. Keflani Muhammad is a very powerful, very fast, small runner. If he does stay healthy, he is going to be an absolute weapon on punts and kicks. So it's definitely interesting to see how everything's going to work out. And I think you'll see it probably, change and until they find something that they really like, they'll work around with it. But, how long has it been since the Titans had a good return game? We were just talking about it on the show the other night.
Yeah.
We were a really good offense last year. Imagine what's going to happen when we have decent starting fielding position on a regular basis. It's going to be nasty.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. And one thing about Muhammad is that he has some excellent vision. And I'm with you. If the wedge opens up and he's able to bust through there, he's going to cause some major damage for any opposing team. So I definitely agree on that. And I do like the pick of Bates and Trawick and even Eric Weems helping as far as gunner and coverage on kicks, because I specifically remember the Houston game, the first one. Special teams cost us that game, and it eventually cost Bobby April his job, because if they cover that punt return, Titans probably win that game.
Absolutely.
You know, that would have got us in the playoffs. That is a game that would have got us in the playoffs. And that game in Jacksonville does not even matter at this point. But now that we've gotten everybody covered, it is now time for one of the best parts of the show. It's called Pick My Brain. And this is where you, the fans, get involved. I've put out on Facebook, to get some questions in, and I've gotten a few comments on who should start opposite Jarrell Casey, and also Adoree Jackson or LaShawn Sims. You've heard us say it, that Daquan Jones is probably going to start, and also LaShawn Sims over Adoree Jackson. Let's see what some of the fans have to say about that before we get to some questions. It looks like we've gotten quite a few votes for LaShawn Sims starting outside Adoree Jackson. Looks like that was from Denicio Johnson. We also got my guy Brandon Bowers, who basically says he thinks Klug should start on the other side, and with LaShawn Sims outside and Adoree Jackson in the slot. And also it looks like my guy Brandon Cleavers, he thinks Daquan Jones will start because Klug is a better rotation player. Prefers Sims at number 1, move Logan around depending on the offense we're going up against. That's a very good stat right there, Brandon. You're definitely gonna get a good like for that one. And Andrew Steck has said Austin Johnson will start opposite Casey with Sly manning the middle, and it looks like Adoree and Logan Ryan will man the outside, but in the nickel, Ryan kicks in the slot. Sims mans Ryan's spot on the outside. So we've actually gotten a few votes. More looks like more say that Daquan Jones will stick, and got a few Austin Johnson votes. But I think a lot of people are saying that Logan Ryan and LaShawn Sims will start with Adoree Jackson on the inside. And again, that's what we're looking at definitely. And Brandon Cleves brought out the question. Again, we mentioned Curtis Riley earlier, so we definitely talked about him. And he asked, would it make sense to leave Sims as the number 1 corner, seeing how he made some great plays and didn't show those signs of being that horrible corner we know having in the past, that we've known to have in the past. And again, I say Sims, I think, will definitely start on the outside alongside Logan Ryan. Being number 1, I don't know just yet, but I think he'll be definitely the number 2. Ryan, would you agree or disagree?
I think you could see him play a lot of number 1. I think it's going to change week to week, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on matchups. You know, when we play the Colts, like you were talking about with T.Y. Hilton, you're not going to see Sims cover number 1, but he is powerful, and he is great at press coverage. So when we play Houston going up against Hopkins, I can see Sims taking on Hopkins.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really going to depend on who we play, and what matchups we want to take. But I can see Sims being a number 1 a lot, and because I think you can move I think you can move Logan Ryan around a lot more than you can move Sims around.
I agree with that, and I think, especially with the first game coming against the Raiders, I definitely see with Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree, I think that's the perfect situation for Logan Ryan and LaShawn Sims to go first in there, because both of those guys, Cooper and Crabtree, can be physical. Both can be physical, and both are quick but not super fast. But those guys, both of them know how to catch the ball very well. So I think that is a good, favorable thing for them. And one last question that Brandon asked: should we lose all hope on Kevin Dodd?
Not yet, man. It's too early. It's 1 year. He spent a lot of time injured. He seems like he's getting his head on right. You know, we've seen pictures of him at training or at mini camps and stuff, and He's there. He's being quiet, which I think makes some people nervous, but I think it's the right move. You don't want to be mouthy right now. You just want to be quiet. You want to be in there and you want to be working, keeping your head down. But we've also seen a picture that surfaced in the Tennessee Titans Uncensored Facebook fan page where his neighbor put it up, where Kevin Dodd's walking around his neighborhood with his helmet on, with his Tennessee Titans helmet on. So some people took that as he's trying to show people hey, I'm an NFL player, look at me. I took it more as I'm here to work. That's what I'm doing. He's bringing his lunch pail home, kind of a thing. I like it. I think he's getting his head right and getting his head where it needs to be, which I think's the problem. Kevin Dodd has the skill. You look back at his last year at Clemson, he put up crazy stats.
Yes. Yes, he did.
He's the talent's there. He just has to get his head right.
And I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think this is a very important year for Kevin Dodd. He needs to show, number one, that he's healthy. If he shows that he's healthy and can produce, he definitely would be somebody that could definitely do some major damage to a defense. And I mean, honestly enough, I really like that he did put up those crazy numbers. And I really do believe Kevin Dodd has the talent to make it on this team and to really last a very long time. And one thing I put out on Facebook, and I believe we discussed this and decided that it was best not to do it. I said if he put on about 20 or so pounds, maybe he moves down and plays on the defensive line opposite Jarrell Casey. Or if he loses maybe another 10 to 20 pounds, he'll be light enough to be at outside linebacker to cover if he needs to cover on that. But I think the consensus is he needs to stay outside linebacker and bring the pain from there. But yeah, now is not the time to give up on Kevin Dodd just yet. But he needs to bring it. He needs to bring it this year. And he needs to bring it in a very major way on that.
Oh, absolutely. He's playing for his spot next year. I mean, he's not making the team again if he has another year where he's just not a factor at all. But man, if he does come in and he does play to his potential, I mean, you're talking about Derek Morgan at 10 sacks last year. Arakpo had 11 and a half. We have someone strong, stud in there that can rotate in with those guys. I mean, you're talking about a very dangerous pass rush. So hopefully Dodd can live up to that potential.
I agree with that totally. And right quick, before we go to our blue bombshell question to end the show, the news came out. News is, really been spiraling around about the Titans. I mean, hype is going crazy. On 102.5, the game earlier, on Jared and the GM, they were talking about, is this hype a bit much for the Titans, with the USA Today report talking about us being 12-4. And, Peter King has us as the fourth best team in the league and things like that. I want to get your thoughts on, A, is 12-4 realistic for the Titans? And B, is this hype, all this talk about the Titans, is it a bit too much?
Well, starting off with your first question, I think 12-4 is our ceiling. I think that's as good as we're going to do. I have us still right now at 10-6 this season, but I don't think 12-4 is insane by any means. But we would have to play very good. Our schedule's not loaded down with great teams, but we haven't played well, recently in the division. Then there's some tough teams on here. The Cardinals are going to be better than they were last year. The Steelers are going to be a good team. The Ravens, now we'll have to see exactly what happens with Flacco if he's back and healthy by then. But they're going to be an improved team as long as he's there. The Seahawks are a great team. Mm-hmm. So there's some tough games, but it's not impossible. We also have, the Browns again, the Dolphins that we're going to beat. The 49ers, I don't think are going to be a problem. The Rams, there's plenty of teams that are on our radar that are going to be really easy to win too. We're going to have to come out and execute. I don't think it's out of the question, but I would say it is our ceiling. And as for your second question, man, with the hype, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's hype around this team right now because this team's really good. There's a reason why Peter King, and I love Peter King, by the way. I'm over here at Ohio University, and this is his alumni, or his college where he went. Yeah, so I absolutely love the guy. Read him all the time. But yeah, he's the reason why he has him that high. And USA Today is saying that it's because this team's poised to do some big things. We have a great young quarterback and a stellar offensive line, a very, very great running game. We have a lot of new weapons at the wide receiver position, and this defense improved a little bit. You know, they're not going to be as good as the offense. I mean, that's just plain to see, but it is better than last year. And, you know, we're one good draft and offseason away from having, you know, a very dominant team. I think right now we have the up-and-coming playoff definitely is. You know, if we don't get in the playoffs this year, this season's a bust for us. So
I agree.
We're the playoff potential team right now. I think next year, if a good offseason, good draft, we're the dominant team. We're the teams that you're talking about, you know, when you talk about Green Bay and the Patriots and, you know, the Steelers, I got to guess are in that realm as well. Those teams that are there every single year, year in and year out. We're, I think, one good offseason away from that. And there's a reason. There's a reason why there's so much hype. Is this team is for real, and people realize that. They see what's going on in Nashville. I mean, it's happening, whether people want to admit it or not. But a lot of people seem to think that. And it's because, you know, like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, and that fire is hot right now. It is very, very hot. And my honest opinion is this. 10-6, I think is where we're going to finish. 11-5, I think is very realistic. In my honest opinion, I think 12-4 might just be a bit too lofty. That means we would have to pull out a couple of games we weren't supposed to win. Not saying that it is impossible. It's not. It's not impossible. I just think it is not as realistic, and I'm cautiously optimistic on 12-4. 11-5, I think is definitely possible. 11-5, I could see, and I think we're definitely going to win the division. Getting into the playoffs, I think, is good, and depending on how we're matched up, I could see it doing some major damage in the playoffs. So, yeah. I agree. I am ready. The hype is high. I am glad we're getting talked about a lot. I just don't want us to get ahead of ourselves and, you know, go crazy. I'm excited. I'm a season ticket holder. I can't wait to see a lot of this action. But I just want us to just make sure we take care of business. In the division, definitely. You know, we got Jacksonville and Houston early. We need to win those two games, if nothing else. Start off at worst 2-2, but have those two games under our belt. Get Indianapolis on Monday night, because that is going to be our midseason Super Bowl. Indianapolis. That is a game we have to win. Now, Pittsburgh, we might be able to steal that one. I know we won't be favored. Arizona, I agree with you, will be better than they were indicated to be. And that could be a game that could be flexed to Sunday night, in my honest opinion. And if we're in those last 4 games, in those last 3 games after Arizona, if we've already gotten to about 8 or 9 wins already, and I would say anywhere between 7 to 9 wins before those last 3, we're winning 10 games at least. There's no doubt in my mind. I think San Francisco, LA, and Jacksonville will win all 3 of those going into the playoffs. That's where we'll get 10-6 and maybe even 11-5. So I definitely could see that. So I'm ready. I just think, yeah, the hype is crazy, but let's enjoy it. Let's ride this hype train as far as we can go.
Oh, yeah, man. All aboard, baby. Yeah, and you bring up a great point. That end of the season is soft. You know, we start off, that first 4 games are going to be, you know, 2 road games against divisional opponents. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, we're taking on the Raiders and the Seahawks. That's a tough, you know, some tough matchups there.
Yep.
But that last 4 games, you're talking about going to Arizona and then going to San Francisco. And then at home against the Rams, at home against the Jaguars. That is a soft end of the season. And, you know, that's when we're going to need to pick up wins. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. We're set up perfect the way the schedule works out for us, you know, to have a really good season.
Yeah, and I think, honestly enough, we have got to start off the gates good, as hard as it's going to be. If we can start off 2-2 at best, 3-1, and then you add those last 3 games, I mean, I'm not going to guarantee Arizona. You last those 3 games, that's 5 to 6 wins already. That's 5 to 6 wins already. And then you got to take care of business with Miami, with Cleveland. And those are going to be games we can definitely win. Yeah, it's definitely possible. I am so ready for that. And letting everybody know there will be a prediction show at the end of the preseason going into the regular season. I'm going to have a full prediction show, prediction game by game, and I'm going to tell you what the record's going to be by the end of it. So that's definitely coming. But to end the show for the Blue Bombshell, I think, you know, I'm a movie fanatic. I love the movies. I love going to them. I have a huge collection. If you know me, I like to watch movies. And so my question I put out to everybody, and I'll put this out again and everybody can respond to this later. Give me your top 2 favorite football movies that you've ever seen. Strictly football, whether it's high school, college, if it was pro, anything like that. I want your top 2 favorites. And so, Ryan, you're the guest of honor. I'm going to let you go first if you got any thoughts.
Yeah, this was tough, man. I want to give honorable mentions out first. The 2 movies that I really love but didn't make my list. And that would be Remember the Titans and
Yes.
Brian's Song. Brian's Song, Chris, that is one of the only movies that a grown man can cry to, and it's completely okay. It's 100% socially acceptable for a grown man to bawl his eyes out at that movie. That movie is a great one. But I did a top 3 real quick. 3 being The Replacements. I love that movie. A really good flick about scabs coming in to cover games.
Yeah.
Number 2, Friday Night Lights. This was, I read the book. I was a big fan of it and watched the movie. Wasn't a big fan of the TV show, but the movie's excellent. Really good story. And, all based on a real story. And then my number 1 is Varsity Blues. I love that movie, man.
Yes.
It's one of my top 3 or 4 favorite movies of all time. Really good cast, really funny movie. Definitely hard to pick, though, man. So many good football movies.
Yeah. And there's plenty of good ones. And honestly enough, you took 2 of my top 3 also with Friday Night Lights and The Replacement. So I am definitely with you on those 2. Love both of those movies. Now, Remember the Titans, I absolutely love, and I forgot to name that one. I mean, I don't know how I could have forgotten that one, but that was an absolutely fantastic movie on that one. But I'll give a couple of my honorable mentions, and then I will give my other one that goes in the top 3 along with Friday Night Lights and The Replacements. One is definitely going to be an honorable mention, When the Game Stands Tall. And for those of you who don't know, this is a movie with, I forgot the guy's name, Jim Cassonville. I probably got his name all the way wrong, but it was about the De La Salle football team. They had a huge winning streak, like 133 straight games that they won. And they're, riding high on the street. They lose a few games. They have to find their way. The coach is is sick, dealing with some things personally, physically in his life. He's thinking about taking a job at Stanford. And this team had to basically refine themselves. They lose a teammate. They really had to find themselves and really get back on the road to greatness and really find out that it is within each other where you really find the strength of your team. So I absolutely enjoyed that movie. Another one, of course, one of my funniest ones ever, The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler. I know a lot of veterans out there will go back to the old Burt Reynolds, thank you. The old Burt Reynolds version, but I like the new version with Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, and the guys. Very funny, makes me laugh my tail off. It has a few wrestlers in there, so I definitely laughed my butt off on that. And one other one is The Program, definitely with James Caan, with Omar Epps in there, and I enjoy that movie because it is a movie basically, you see the ins and outs of the college program, of a college football program, dealing with suspensions, dealing with, a player that cheats. You're dealing with a player that's dealing with drug issues that he has to work out. He's a Heisman Trophy quarterback. and he having to deal with that. You got a guy from a bad upbringing trying to change his life and feels that football is his way out. And it is a fantastic movie indeed. I enjoy watching that. But I have Friday Night Lights at number 1. I have Replacements at number 3. My number 2 movie is a movie called Facing the Giants. And I know a lot of people, this is a movie that I know a lot of people probably hasn't heard of, and some people have. I absolutely enjoy this movie, and I love the message in it. The message is basically, it really brings God into this, and God and how you really got to believe in each other. You got to pray together. You really got to believe in God. You got to really know that you can do some things. And understand, if you put God first in your life, He's going to lead you in a lot of different ways. And He's going to lead you to a lot of wonderful, wonderful things. And this movie is where, this guy, a man is, a head coach. It's the head coach of a team. They're struggling. They're trying to win. Boosters and, principals and everybody are trying to, force him out because they want to win. They want to win championships. But he really finds, he finds peace with the Lord. He finds peace with his family. He's trying to become a father. And in that, not only does he grow in his faith in God, he teaches the team about not just winning football games, but winning in life. And that is the most important lesson that anybody can teach, because we all know this. Football is the game of life. You learn so many life lessons playing football. I know I did. I played football in high school too. And like many of us, Ryan, I know you could be a testament to this. You learn so many life lessons. You learn to believe. You learn about respect. You learn about honoring God in everything. You honor God in football because you praise Him when you win. You praise Him when you lose. And this is a classical movie that you got to check out. They go all the way to the top and end up winning the whole thing. It is an absolutely must watch. And believe me, if you don't have belief in God, you will have to watch it now. And that is one of my top favorites right there.
It's a good list, man. But I forgot about the program. As soon as you said that, I was like, man, I'm rewatching that like tonight. I haven't seen that movie in so long. That's a really good movie.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. And and I know there's probably some other football movies I left out. Also, I know somebody said For the Love of the Game, and I'm thinking, that's a baseball movie. That's a baseball movie. So, I know some will probably talk about Air Bud and all of that. I think, you can't forget about those. But those are some good classic movies on that. But before we get out of here, before we do get out of here for tonight, Ryan, tell everybody how you can be found and how they can get the Two Tone Uncensored.
Absolutely, man. Two Tone Uncensored you can find on Facebook. Just search for some Two Tone Uncensored. On Twitter, it's at TTU Podcast. You can find me on Twitter. My personal account is at the Ryan Moreland, Moreland. It's a compound word. You can go to ttupodcast.com to find everything you need for the for Two Tone Uncensored. It's the podcast's homepage. Also, the All Out Sports Network. I write for them as well. You can find them at www.theaosn.com.
All right. Well, y'all know where to find them, so definitely go tune in. Check out their podcast. Their website is absolutely fantastic. They just put out a big interview on Drew Bennett that they had, and that was a great interview. Definitely a must listen. I guarantee you that. And before we do get out of here, I do have an announcement to make myself, is that check out the Facebook pages. We got 2 pages. One is the fan page. That's where fans can interact with each other, interact with me. Some things will be on there for content. Also, like and follow the actual Titans and Truth official page. That is where all the content is going to be. Anything as far as blogs, anything as far as episodes, all of that is going to be there on that official Titans and Truth page. So you got that one, and then you got the Titans and Truth fans. That is the fan page. And last but not least, I am actually working on a website. for Titans in Truth. Launch date is to be determined right now. So I will have a show where we will talk about when that will launch. But just know that a website is on the way. And so with that, that is all we got for this evening. Ryan, thank you again for joining us. Check out Two Tone Uncensored. It is a great podcast. I enjoy it. I'm glad to be on there. I thank Ryan, Glenn, and Matt for being great guys with me, and definitely gonna have them back on some future shows. So on behalf of myself, Two Tone Uncensored, Ryan, I'ma holler at y'all. Let's go Titans. Tighten up.
Tighten up, baby.